because they deal with business news.
Hi, my name is Amaka Wokolo. I am the director of the Faith Institute at Faith Foundation. Keep watching Souq News.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas Touch, and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix, and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape. Welcome back. We sincerely do apologize for that break in transmissions. We are back. It's SBL Souq Business Landscape, and you're watching us right from Souq News. We are one of the beautiful, tallest stations in Africa. You should be here. You have no excuse but to be here. We're looking at the students' loan, and we were telling you before we went off that this particular administration have done something. We heard like stories, things that were passed to us, to my generation. And they told us that when they were in school, government funded part of the tuition. They told us that once you graduated, there was a car, there was a job waiting for you. It told us that when they were in school, food was available. Okay, now we'll see government bringing tuition back and bringing some loans. I want to talk about it. Is it positive? For me, yes. Now we have students that find it difficult to pay school fee or some other monies in school and graduate without issues. Not that they are not good upstairs, but it's just the financial issues. But now government has come in. Now, at the last count, we are seeing that 366,247 students have benefited. Good. Total amount spent for now, 73 billion. Good. Let me start with you, Sir Oracle. Is this sustainable?
Well, I think it's very sustainable. The model is quite different from what happened in the US and other European countries in terms of funding and financing. As long as businesses continue to exist here, it will become sustainable even when repayment becomes difficult from the student angle. Because the way it's designed, it's supposed to be from the taxes that were taken from company, and you're going to take part of it to fund that enterprise. And I'm also thinking that if it is properly managed and run, the money is enough to actually go around, and especially also to look at those who are having access to the kind of loan and the kind of level of access that government had to make open to students. Take, for example, right now limited to both federal and state universities. But by the time you're extending it to what will I call it now? Private universities and probably scholarship, then it can be very damaging. Okay. And I think that's where the issues are. Whatever we need to do is to ensure that government put more money through TED fund on our own federal universities, and we ensure that the people we are sending who should be able to access this loan are people who are going to federal university, and they should be critical students, not just any student, because you know that you're targeting a certain level of development. There's not just that people have to have certificate, but we have a certificate that's going to add value to the economy, add value to society, and then these are the people that we're actually funding, because I don't want to join Odumeji. He said recently in one of his sermons, why will people leave their parent house and they are going to university to go and study some certain courses that will not put food on the table? So people should be able to be funded to do functional education. That will add value to society. Society become bigger, and then of course we cannot be thinking about scaling up to accommodate some of all these excesses. Because by the time you program some of all these things to private institutions or institutions outside of this country. It's like we are demarketing our own federal institutions and state-owned institutions, and that is what we should support. Anybody who want to go to a private university, that's a luxury, and they should find a way to fund luxury. Okay, find a way to fund luxury. The Oracle have spoken. But now let me come to the fair one. You are a bridge between the Oracle and men. So, dear Ferry, if we go by what Doc have said, and we know that come January 2026, the new tax law is going to take shape. And we have this particular quota from industries, manufacturers, and companies. And if you see where that particular tax money is going to, the first thing is this particular project. Are we seeing a possibility where we will grow this to be able to accommodate as much as want it from the schools? Because right now, not every student can access this. If we say all you must get go, every student access it, we won't be able to fund this. But do you see a possibility where we're able to accommodate more students come January next year?
Wow, that's a very good question. I think the authorities should have the way and manner to go about it. The reason why I'm saying that is because we all know that in the tax reform bill, companies that will have a turnover for less than 50 million naira will be exempted from tax. And if there is a specific amount of money that these companies are supposed to pay by way of tax, which will be, removed and allocated for this purpose, then there's a comma, except maybe that specific amount of money that will be removed from companies, companies will be taxed, will not be touched. That should be allocated to the student loan, will not be touched. I think that's a great area that we need to look at.
No, I think the law is specific.
For company income tax,
yes.
Income tax, your turnover is less than 50 million naira.
No. You see, the thing is that it's actually a contribution from company. Used to be
for this specific
purpose, of course, and that was fund. Yes, that's how TED fund has been funded.
Yes.
But that loan now, the government is trying to say, okay, make it 4%, and that 4% we will not distribute between the NEL fund, TEL fund, NITDA, and NASENI, which are critical agents of government, and they are going to now spend this 4% on different ratios that government is giving, hoping that as year progresses, NIDA and NEL fund and TEL fund should be able to, source their results, and then, of course, this can be really devoted to the students.
Great.
Who don't have
that clarification is great. Thank you. Now, one other aspect that I want to look at is the constitution of 4 interagency, 4 or 5, because the Economic and Financial Crimes Commission, the Independent and Corrupt Practices and Other Offenses Related Commission, ICPC, the Central Bank of Nigeria, and the Ministry of Education has been constituted by the government to make sure that transparency, is upheld in the disbursement of these funds to students and the 206 institutions that this will be going to. Because I believe that the constitutions of these interagencies, the contribution to look at the transparency and assess the way the loan will be disbursed.
Exactly?
On the transparency of the disbursement of this loan fund.
On whose
because
side?
Before now,
from the taker or the giver?
Both sides.
Yeah, but you see, and I think, let me not just cut you in.
Yes.
You see, this thing has not even taken off, and we already have it because we're in the era of Web 3.0. Anybody generates information and send on the public domain. Just about a month ago, the NEL fund were being accused
of money missing.
Of missing money.
Yes.
So that's what the Sensitivity Committee to see at least we have oversight, not just from the NEL fund committee. You're not asking somebody who is overseeing the overseer.
Yes. So I think that on that specific strategy that was taken by the government, I would say that is good. Because
no. Let's be specific. Are you telling NEL fund that somebody has to watch over their heads or their shoulder while they are doing their job?
Please, the executive, even just looking at common government, the executive arm of government is under scrutiny by the legislative arm of government, and vice versa.
Let me give you. The reason why important because we're all humans.
Are we?
We're all humans.
Yes, we are.
We're all humans. And as long as we're human, our behaviors somehow are conditioned by a lot of factors. My friend told me in the university system of students who actually
can we be specific? Which of your friends told you?
who had paid school fees
Okay.
and actually applied for the loan. Because we're thinking that this is just chop money for some people to take. So unfortunately, this loan, they were thinking that it was going to be disbursed to them in their account, not understanding that this money is paid straight to school fees. Okay. So you see, there are a whole lot of people who will have this misdemeanor.
So are they the ones that the economic crime and
yes,
are
of course,
supposed to watch?
Both sides.
Both
whether
sides.
those who are disbursing or those who are receiving.
You didn't even let me answer your question.
Hold on. Let me come to you because I'm coming back to you. If we are looking at 206 institutions, and we also have a particular fund for federal institutions, how do we make sure that these monies, just like Doc said, are really going to students studying courses where the nation should have interest in? Well, and not just somebody's just passing through for a certificate.
Just like he was trying to say, these institutions, that's the CBN, ICPC, EFCC, and Ministry of Education, they're supposed to do periodic audits. They are also supposed to monitor institutional compliance. They're supposed to investigate fraudulent claims. These are some of the things they're supposed to do. Now, I wouldn't say it's confirmed, but I've also spoken to some certain students. There are certain things that you need to provide before this loan is being disbursed. One of the things is your matric number.
Everybody has a matric number. Even graduates have matric numbers.
Which would also be investigated to ascertain whether this person actually has a course or is about to undergo a particular program in the university. So there are certain guidelines. It's not just I'll just go and apply. And just like Doc said, that someone applied thinking the money will be disbursed into his account. So I think there are laid down rules. Maybe there should be some form of awareness, there should be some form of orientation so that students are actually well educated how these processes will go. But these are some of the things that are laid down.
Okay. So I am currently on the interface of the NEL Fund page where you are supposed to fill to obtain the loan.
You want to apply?
As a student. I'm using that as a way of verification, trying to read out some of the information that you're a student you're required to fill. First of all, the question is asked, are you a Nigerian? You need to confirm that, then you verify your education information in there, then you also have to verify your student status. Verifying your student status means probably you wrote JAM before you got into the university, so that specific JAM registration number, which you are going to provide
yes.
And if you're able to make provision of that, that means it will specify what year you actually passed JAM and got into the institution, admission, and where you're supposed to graduate, you understand? So even if you're presenting a falsified detail, you will be caught red-handed. Now,
don't you think we should also have a portion for the school to attest that this
yes, the university, the institution that you are at, they said, okay, verify your educational information, because when you enter your matric number, it is attached to a specific university.
Yes.
Okay. So the name will be out there.
Let's do this, because I really want to ask you some particular question that has to do with our money, Nigerian money, and the student. But first, let's get a student in the studio. We have Shotowa Halima Titilayo. She will be joining us via Zoom, and she will tell us from her perspective as a student what exactly is happening in her school. If she applied, did she get? How did she do it? Okay, unmute your device, please. Titilayo, can you hear me? Just unmute. How are you? Hello, Titilayo, can you hear me? Unmute your device. Okay, Titilayo is a bit shy. She will join us back. Now, let me get back to you, the fair one. If we say this now, the student goes, fills, attests, we get to know this is a real
verified
student. Good. Now we'll also need that verification from the school. This is our student. Go ahead for the process.
Yes, I think it's a complementary process, because if you have a matric number, it will attach to a specific institution, and from that specific institution, they are going to make it available, because they account the money, most especially institutional charges and student school fees, will be going straight to the institution. Okay. And so I don't want to see a situation or probably start thinking that the people manning this system are novices, where students will go and create a different account where those monies will be going to. The kind of money that goes directly to the students is the monthly stipend.
Monthly stipend?
Yes.
So students have access to monthly stipend?
Yes, from what I heard, they earn 20,000 naira monthly stipends.
Come again?
20,000 naira monthly stipends. So I think if
20,000 naira.
Yes, I think it is.
You've taken this big burden off the neck of parents.
Oh yes.
Yes. In fact, I even think 20,000 naira it's small. However, it's a good place to start, because in place like Lagos, if a student if a student, okay, but are you paying for the hostel fee of students? Are they paying for that?
Handouts.
They are not paying that. Okay, are they buying textbook for students? No. You can see that the government is not completely taking the burden of students. They are just taking part of the burden, and that is reasonable and acceptable in the scheme of things, to make sure that the education that students are having right now, they are not, put through the stress like you went through when you were in school, like myself.
I didn't go.
So probably, and we should not be angry if the current generation is some of respite is coming from the government. We should.
Okay. Now let's also.
But you see the problem here, and why this system had to be put in place. I remember when we were having training for auditors, and one of the very senior staff of the Auditor General Office was giving us a true life story of what happened, even with the biometrics for IPPIs. He gave us two stories that day of what really happened. That there was somebody who was employed, and while they were trying to do biometrics for the person, they discovered that he already had a biometric.
The person that was just employed?
Yeah, who was just being employed. And then, of course, they were going to now bundle him to law enforcement for violating. And he said something, just clicked his mind. And then he said, okay, he wanted to talk to the person and ask and said, did you pass this street in Abuja once? And say, yes. And you had your document on, you were looking for a job. He said, yes. You saw where they said federal civil service recruitment. He said, yes. You entered. They took your fingerprint. I said, yes. So he said, he laughed. So he was not telling his colleague he was a victim. That what people were doing, that they actually had these things and take biometrics of unsuspecting applicants and tell them you have gotten a job, you wait for a letter, and that letter really never comes.
Goes to worker.
And these people are uploaded into the IPPS. Accounts are created, for them. And salaries are paid to them.
Okay, so these are the human beings you said we had.
Yes, these are yeah, of course. So these are the things that are happening real time of people who are working within the system, and they are at the back end, and they know how to beat these systems, and they know how to pull this money out. Yes, they're going to pay to remitter, to CBN. And of course, the agencies spend their money, so they also can requisite those money from CBN. And then, of course, by the time you are balancing up the account, you actually know the numbers. So it's possible for people to create matriculation numbers that does not exist.
And that's why we
have
attached to a specific tertiary institution.
No, I mean to the same institution, but take Nigeria, because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting a Nigerian label, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think
Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff.
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
We've got just what you need right here at Femi Wash Media. Call it the Midas touch and you wouldn't be wrong. Let us record, produce, mix and master your audio like nobody does. Reach us on our contact today for the best quality job.
Broad Street. Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked to CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era. With the British came the Methodist Boys High School in 1878.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape. Welcome back. It's still SBL and we are talking student loans. My name is Souq, John Rogers Souq, and the Oracle was trying to tell us that people were trying to beat the gun. But that's why we have the EFCC and ICPC present. Are they going to be present in all schools? We don't know yet. But they should and will have measures to make sure this does not happen. You can't beat the system. They are giving us monies to make sure our children, yes, you heard me right, our children get to school and take a whole lot of burden off the parents. How do they pay back? Dear Olumide, I'm coming to you. How do they pay back? Because this is a loan.
That was one of the things I was worried about. Of course, efficient loan disbursement and loan recovery. Now, according to the reports, you are given a grace of 2 years before you start to pay back this loan. So
after graduation?
Yes,
after graduation.
After graduation. So I think what now lies between on the student is availability of jobs. How much availability of jobs? I've heard even in doctors' time, even in my mom's time, that as soon as during your graduation, companies will come poaching students. I don't know about now. So availability of jobs. How is it going to be? Though Doc also said that there's a way to be deducted from the tax and all that. But availability of jobs. How can we bridge this gap?
So because
I think for me, that should be the least worry.
Paying back?
Oh, yes. Paying back should be the least worry because what I'll do if I had to manage this fund is the fact that the students will have to sign undertaking that they must be willing to work. That if they don't find job elsewhere, then of course they are willing to onboard civil service.
Good one.
Okay, but Doc, talking about onboarding civil service, I just want to say two things that are very, very important. The civil service, sometimes criticisms admit that they are somewhat over-bloated because there are some people within the service whose jobs are not clear-cut jobs, and so they sit down idle in the institutions, the ministries, departments, and agencies. In person, the former Federal Capital Territory, the former minister of the Federal Capital Territory said during his own administration, we had lots of people who were just lying dormant in the system, and he had to come clean up the system. One. Number two, if the government is looking at issues like this, we have vast land, and we'll be talking about agriculture. The government should get its hand in the mud too, then get some of these students there to go and work and pay back the money.
Okay. This is getting interesting. If we are looking at being able to graduate students that are employable, that is one thing, and also graduate students that have entrepreneurial skill. Yeah. Hands-on skill. That would do. Now let's get Titilayo up here. Titilayo is a student, and she will get to open up our eyes and tell us how she got some money, I guess, and how it's happening in there. Titilayo, are you there? Titi, can you unmute and just speak up? We are here with you. You don't need to be shy.
Yes, I am with you, sir.
Okay, you're welcome very much. How are you doing?
I'm fine, sir.
Good. Now, have you benefited from the government's loan, the student's loan?
Sorry, sir, I can't hear you.
Did you benefit? Have you benefited? Did you apply? Are you going through the process of the student loan?
Yes, I did. I applied for the student loan, and I'm also a beneficiary of the student loan.
Okay, good. How long did it take you? The process, how long did it take?
It takes like 2 months or thereabouts. Yeah, 2 months.
If it takes 2 months, that means within a semester you can apply and get approval. And also, have you gotten your disbursement within the 2 months?
It was after 2 months we got the disbursement, and it was paid into the school account.
But can you walk us through the process, how you got the loan?
Okay, so firstly, when I applied, it took a month to go for pending to approved. Then from approved, it has to go to verified. So I keep checking my my page, because when you apply for the student loan, they are going to ask you to log in, and you have your own page so that you can keep updated on how the loan is going to be disbursed. So once it gets disbursed, the school will notify you that the money has been disbursed, and you will see it on your.
Did you have any interface with any human being during this process?
Are you still there? Okay, we go ahead. Well, we have one person, we have network issues, and fortunately, that is what we'll be going to after this particular story. For everyone that is part of this, my own take is, apart from the positivities, we will want to see a case where every student, it doesn't matter your geographical location or the school where you are, except if they are private schools, they have access to equal opportunities in applying for these loans and getting it. And for everyone out there, if you have some human tendencies, let's keep it in quotes, that are not positive, please, there are people that really need this loan. Let them get it.
Yeah, but the challenge I have here is a process. She applied, is pending, and is approved. There are no interviews, no interface. That's what I wanted to get from her.
But we didn't get to hear that side of it.
Did anybody interview her to actually see, did she really need the loan?
Okay. So for me, Doc, I'm not going to take Titi's word for it, because Titi refused to show us her face. And for the purpose of credibility of this program, I'm going to have to nullify that we spoke to a Titi, because I need someone to appear on our screen.
And confidently say,
yes, and say it. And I'm not going to take Titi's word for it. So if Titi is not willing to show up her face, she should leave. Let's get some other students who went through this process, who got the loan, and who are not shy or ashamed. If you're in the university, it is evident that you are more than 18. You can show on television. You are not even a youth copper that is prevented by government policy. you are still a student. So if you are not going to show in our screen, please, we want to make sure we are giving credible information to Nigerians out there. If
Yeah, but I don't mind if it is audio. It's for us to interrogate her so that we can look at it, how compliant these things with the laid down procedure. So we need to ask the question. So she just need to give us feedback.
No, let's, Titi, are you still there? Confirm. Okay, she's gone. Okay, we'll go to the next story. But before we go there, I want to say to everybody in okay, good and fine. We'll have someone else there. Can you come up? The person's. We really want someone that will show us the face. We have several students, but they want to do audio. But once we have someone that will be doing video, we'll get back to that particular story. So let's go straight to our second story of the day. And this has to do with network operators, telcos. Nigeria's major telecommunications companies have commenced a nationwide upgrade of their network, deploying $1 billion worth of Chinese-made. Why Chinese-made had to come in here, I'm still trying to figure it out. Chinese-made equipment to improve service quality. The Nigerian Communications Commission confirmed the arrival and ongoing installation of the equipment, with operators aiming to meet a fourth quarter deadline for visible improvements in cell quality, internet speed, and coverage across the country. This investment, which more than doubles the previous year capital expenditure, follows the approval of a 50% tariff increase and recent USSD debt settlement by banks. The upgrades are expected to ease network congestion, boost 4G expansion, and lay the foundation for broader 5G deployment, especially in underserved rural communities. Ladies and gentlemen, ladies being those behind the camera, we have started paying 50% increase in telecommunication services. Why are we coming to hear private businesses telling us they're investing $1 billion in their network? Is it not a private business?
Well, if you look at the terms of reference.
Whose terms of reference?
The terms of reference, the communication between the Nigerian Communications Commission, NCC, and the telco operators, telecommunication operators of Nigeria. We know the big names that are into this industry that were jostling to increase the fare. So it was through the involvement of the Central Bank of Nigeria, the Nigerian Communications Commission, and the telcos where we arrived at the 50% increment of tariffs.
We did not arrive. They've started charging you already.
Yes, yeah. When I mean we arrived,
we've gone past arrived.
So the thing is, in the terms of reference, one of it was that the quality of service and calls was supposed to, take a different turn, increase in the fourth quarter of 2025. So up to the increase until the fourth quarter of 2025, we're supposed to, visibly see this increase of the quality of calls, not by network disruptions and all other inefficiencies that we see them display even before now. And before then, all operators have submitted their network improvement and deployment strategies, which are rigorous monitoring, which means that the NCC is going to monitor this process. They need to submit a document that specifies how they are going to efficiently upgrade and efficiently operate the 4G coverage network, and which will lay the groundwork for the 5G operation and its effective deployment across the country. That is equally there. And for me, the problem I now have is the $1 billion. I think
why do you have a problem?
No, is it a projection? Now, I think it is. I think they are trying to bamboozle the public.
No, I don't think so.
No, just a moment. Let me just finish my line of thought. I think the $1 billion is trying to bamboozle Nigerians that, look, we are pouring all our money, we are pouring this set of capital into the economy, into this particular industry, because we requested for 50% increase, and you're telling us you are pouring $1 billion. I have a problem with that. And equally, this money, fine, we cannot produce this equipment. So it is massive capital flight, a rip-off in the Nigerian economy. It's not that we cannot retain back in this.
So you don't have expertise on that, so you will not be able to speak
It was stated visibly that this equipment are imported into the country.
Yes, I understand. That what I'm saying is that you don't have the technical competence to be able to judge whether those equipments are there. We're doing consulting.
$1 billion.
Yeah, just 1 minute. We're doing a consulting job for somebody just yesterday. And we just asked to say, okay, query this kind of installation for a radio station and a TV station in this location. On-the-spot assessment of equipment is about $6.8 million just for a radio equipment and a TV equipment.
That's pittance compared to $1 billion.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying to you. So what you're talking about, you are having how many networks? You are having about 4 networks, and they're going to deploy these equipments on their networks. So when you aggregate what they are going to spend, it's not a money anybody can take from here. Let's give that to the technical people to analyze. The world is shifting. You can look at what has been done elsewhere and see what's the cost for people to deploy, for example, a 5G. Even government, as we speak today, we have not been able to lay fiber optics around the nation. Government is just proposing. Go and check the amount of money that is put on laying fiber optics for our nation. So,
but should it be government that should do that?
Yes, government should, because it's basic infrastructure, just like road. Okay. Private individuals shouldn't do that. So it's government that needs to put
we've seen private individuals lay,
for example,
cables. Yes.
Yes, of course. Cables, not fiber optics. See, the fiber optics infrastructure, NCC should be able to actually deploy. And these other guys get to connect into it. Yes, tap into it, because it's supposed to be national infrastructure. It should be a security issue for us as a country.
For nations.
For the nation. So,
okay. Are we looking at it?
We must look at it at that dimension. So we have seen nations who have deployed this effectively. For example, in Rwanda, they've done about 95% fiber optics around, though the nation is small, we can't compare their size, but Nigeria is vast. 923,000 square kilometers. You look at it, even in, for example, Niger State alone, about 73,000 square kilometers.
That's several countries.
So if you are going to deploy this facility in this area, we know it's going to cost fund.
Okay.
So I'm not sure that we are to be able to, we don't have the expertise to be able to query what they are putting in.
We are not looking at the expertise.
Yeah, but the reason...
Our argument is that these are private companies.
Yeah.
So why coming to tell me that you're putting this amount of money in your facility? I'm just a customer.
Because...
We are just...
No.
We are billionaires.
No.
We've not come to this area of service provision.
They are operating within an environment that's regulated. NCC demand a minimum standard of operation for these companies.
Can we ask this question? Let me come to you. Now, if you remember some years back, not too long ago, MTN were held liable for poor service. And a particular amount of fine was slammed on them. It took a whole long time. We don't know how that fine was paid. It was converted to loans. We had at one point in time, they were going to build roads. We had all manner of things. We've seen service disruption from time to time. Who is holding who accountable for these service disruptions? Because me and you can't go fight them. We've not seen that happen around here. So who holds them accountable for those disruptions, those poor service that are being paid for?
You know, this is one of the things that I've actually thought about, that some of these network providers or telecoms, if you find them, they can pay, or they might find a way to pay. And they would even get used to regular payment of fines. But I believe that there should be other ways, stricter punishment for these telcos. In a way, I might seem too extreme, maybe suspend their license. Maybe that will get them to sit up. But if you feel it's just, I have to just pay a certain fine because of poor network connectivity, and that they can even allocate that in their annual budget, that, okay, this is for fine payment.
This is for going to the court.
So I believe there should be stricter compliance, stricter punishments for them.
You see, the issue is...
Let me come to you.
No, I just wanted to follow up with what you've asked him.
Okay.
You have FCCCP there who speak for the consumers. You have
who speaks for
the consumers.
Okay.
Yes, of course. You have to take your case to them, and they stand for you vis-a-vis the operators. You have the regulators who are also setting the standard to be sure that the standard is met. And all these things are put in place to ensure that within the environment that people are playing to standard. That is a key question. But you see, they have had their own arguments, which was one of the real issues, because I still saw early this month that banks are still taking money from my account for SMS, which is supposed now to be going to the telco.
But
because
if you observed, I don't know, they sent this message yesterday. The bank sent messages yesterday that going forward from today, that we will pay the USSD fee to the telcos.
Yeah,
I got that SMS.
I have not seen because they still took some money from my account yesterday.
No, I don't think it's for the elites. It's for we regular Nigerians.
I'm not a regular Nigerian.
Okay.
So first
people of Nigeria.
Great. Okay. Now I have an information here. In Nigeria, the deployment of fiber optic cables is primarily driven by the private sector companies, but it's regulated by the Nigerian Communications Commission. So if primarily, because they obtain their licenses from the Nigerian Communications Commission, and some of the conditions that has been set on the motion for them to obtain that specific license was to equally have the financial capability and the capacity to make sure that they make this infrastructure and these assets available for the effective deployment of their services and efficient communication system, which is part of the reasons why there was this increment from 50% to 50% in the current tariff.
A lot of those fiber cables have been deployed
years
ago.
Years ago.
Let's give an example of this particular guys in green. I'm not calling names.
Yes.
So
it's a private organization.
These other guys that run on one. Okay. They are the two major guys on that particular.
They deploy that.
Yeah.
So once I am not...
Doc is arguing on security reasons.
Okay, fine. I know he's arguing on security reasons. But you see, that $1 billion of the thing that they are going to lay,
not on fiber,
we are paying for it.
For equipment. Yeah.
For equipment. We are doing, Nigerians are currently paying their part. Doc is paying his part. We are paying our own part. And we are going to continue to pay even after it has been laid and all of that. The NCC, and like he rightly said, the FCCPC, like, oh, Nigerians have paid for these services. You must not give them anything below standard.
Yeah.
Because if you do, we'll come at you.
But
they need to do that.
Who is doing that?
Who is doing that? The FCCPC should take it up.
Okay, but me, you, and some other people out there.
I buy data and I don't see the data on my phone. I buy it and I don't see it. You recharge your line and they are telling you it's exhausted in the next 1 hour. What did I do?
These stories, a lot of them abound out there. But now let's also come back. Let's bring it back. We see a lot of these telcos. If you cross some of their substations and their transmission places, you see generators and you see diesel on the ground on end.
True.
How can we make this easier for them? Because that particular bill, that particular budget they are spending there, they are bringing back on me and you. How can we as a people, as a country, tackle power so that the burden becomes lesser on businesses coming this way? Because they are the first line you see the amount of diesel consumption that goes into generating power.
Because if you look at power now, the transformers that we need to install on, who manufactures those? China. This equipment that we are just purchasing now, $1 billion, that the private companies. It's not our money, fine. It's the private organization, and we are buying equipment from China. The asset, the installation, the maintenance, then the supervision of this process, China is involved. So all this money that we are paying, I mean, how much do we retain back in the economy that we can gain?
You are looking at
we need to.
But what about the power itself?
The
How
power
can
is
we
fine. We
generate
know
power for
that
this?
when it comes to power.
But the power issue, we also know. You're talking power issue. Because it's the question of which one first, whether the hen or the egg, which one comes first. And this is one issue that, as a people, we're not honest about when it comes to the issue of the debate. Why we're advocating so well, because there's so high level of poverty around us, and we shall want government to do almost everything, but we're also not considering the implication for businesses and the business owner. Now, new hands are putting money into the power sector. Why is the power sector redundant? Why is it not making profit? And I think these are the questions that we should ask. In short, I met somebody in a conference some years ago who was telling me from TCN, and he said, if government completely deregulate the power sector, that it will be much more lucrative than the telco sector, because there's so much that can be made. But the investment that's required is massive. Now, if you're asking somebody to put those massive investment, you can stay in one corner and be determining how that person is going to collect his money. So you can't use it for social service, which is what we currently do at the moment. So what we are passing through is a phase that, yes, we want quality service. We also want it so affordable that everybody can have the service. And then we are wanting one Father Christmas to put the money down and get this done. I tell you, it will not happen. For this question you're asking, Nigerian power problem can be solved in one day.
How?
In one day. Just the way that we have said, okay, there's one man who has money and said, I want to build a refinery. And I will build 650 lane refinery. And we say, go ahead and build and collect your money. We don't need to tell you a template to supply fuel. And people are giving him trouble today. He went ahead, bought 4,000 head of trucks and said, I will distribute to my customer. I know how to make my money back. Now, once you make power sector that same way,
our problem is solved.
It's solved forever.
But don't you think we have done that? Because currently as we speak, the states have been given complete rights to make sure they develop power.
They cannot develop it.
Mean they don't have the capacity, to do that. Investment, let the Lagos state government can take care of that. No. If we have some religious houses and they are covering some massive land and they have restaurants, they have houses, they have residential areas and companies in there, and they have the wherewithal to develop power within those estates for sustainability, and in some cases to ration it around for a few hours, then we definitely can have a state that with the financial muscle of Lagos to do something the same. So I think the government has done that. Private individuals trying to go into that particular sphere as we speak can go through the vehicle of the state, because it can obtain licenses from the state. If you can't obtain licenses from the state can acquire license for that purpose, for that individual to function in that arena.
Yeah, but you see, the point is that if you allow private individuals to play in, and you can give them that opportunity to do and treat it as business. Take, for example, generation is still in the hands of government. And government is not making so much from it. So they can't even invest.
What are we even generating?
They can't invest in the infrastructure that has been laid for over some 40 years, some 60 years, some 30 years, depending. Now, if you even look at the telcos themselves as we speak now, since 2000 and 2002, we're already over 20 years of infrastructure, and they are not renewed. They are only trying to maintain. Some of these things need replacement for you to actually get service. And this is why, of course, when they're talking about this investment, that's where my mind is, that if you have been using a lot of them, you go and see the scrap of generator that are running 24 hours.
For telcos?
For telcos.
They should, so that's the question now.
So this is
they even have generators in the first place.
Generators?
Yes, should telcos have generators in the first place?
Yeah, but because there's no light, this is the issue. But because of the way it's distributed, I take, for example, where I was having my conference in UAE, Radisson Blue in Dera, they generate their electricity. They're not connected to any
national grid.
So what happened is that they have a windmill at the back of the hotel, and then they have a massive solar installation. So no light blink, everything is regulated, generated. But that was a massive investment for a long term. But for one location, it's possible. But these marks are scattered around places. So for you to be able to do that connectivity is going to be a whole lot.
Aside the whole lot, you end up crossing transmission lines that belong to another company.
So they are not able to actually get that done because of the nature of the operation, the way it is at the moment. So we actually have been relying on the national grid to be able to do this distribution. But again, look at it. Some of these things are in the bush, so you can't actually get this thing. So the operation is a big problem. But I remember, I think it was in 2006, I was doing a proposal for Etisalat just came into Nigeria at that time, and I did some research for them, and I was telling them that, look, yes, the cost of getting into this business is massive, and I don't think that every telecom operator should own infrastructure. That it can become cheaper if infrastructures are shared.
Yeah, but that was the reason why we had NITEL, because NITEL was supposed to be the backbone of other networks.
But it was on the ground. Okay. By your friends and your brothers.
Okay, now let's for those that are not in the know, we are currently occupying that particular building where NITEL used to be. So hey, history is part of this particular station. We'll go on a very short break, and when we return, we'll talk about something that is close to our hearts. Are we going to smile when we're talking about it? Don't go anywhere, you get to find out. It's still business landscape, and this is Souq News. Don't go anywhere.
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
Broad Street, situated in Lagos Island, is steeped in Nigerian history. Once the biggest financial hub of the country, it housed the headquarters of major banks, linked to CBN, the stock exchange, and the loads of lender companies. Broad Street is a historically significant street. It has played a central role in the development of Lagos and history, an important commercial and administrative center for the British colonial authorities. It was also a home to some of the city's earliest modern buildings. Broad Street was a residential area in the pre-colonial era, where the British claimed the Methodist Boys High School in 1878 and the Broad Street Prison in 1882, renamed Freedom Park. The General Hospital, which was a British military hospital, was built in 1893, being the first general hospital in Nigeria. The old British Secretariat building, which is now the Federal Ministry of Justice, was built in 1906. Broad Street has seen a full turn into modern commercial office blocks, complexes, skyscrapers, and markets from the Outer Marina through Akpombo, early into the Adeniji-Adele Road. Broad Street is one of the busiest streets in Nigeria on weekdays, where commercial activities take place day and night. From modern buildings to ancient structures, this street gives one a raw dose of life in Lagos. Broad Street is often referred to as Lagos Financial District. It boasts a mix of architectural styles, reflecting its long history, colonial-era buildings, Victorian and Edwardian architectural features, alongside more modern skyscrapers and structures. Broad Street remains a vital, vibrant part of the Nigerian economy. Broad Street. Souq Enlightenment.
Welcome to the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. ADSC is an
Take Nigeria because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting Nigerian labor, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, you know, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape. Welcome back. This is SBL, Souq Business Landscape. And we are still here looking at major news, major items, major trending events going not just around Nigeria, but the globe. And we are trying to make sense out of it all, talking, arguing sometimes, and trying to get your perspective of it. So, hey, go to all our social media handles, channels, platforms, and follow. Remember, tweet at us. We will get back to you. And we want to hear what you have to say about what we're talking about. Now, let's get straight to the food part of it. The United States and our country, Nigeria, have strengthened agricultural trade relations to close Nigeria's growing protein deficiency. Now, do me a favor and put in quote, protein deficiency, focusing on soybean. Soybean. Now, imports of soybean. At the Nigeria Now conference in Lagos, top Nigerian government officials, including, now put that same asterisk, former President Olusegun Obasanjo and U.S. stakeholders agreed on boosting protein access through increased soybean use in food and livestock feed. Nigeria, with over 336 million people, consumes an average of 45.4 grams of protein daily, below the global standard. That's where the question now comes. Who sets that global standard? Following a 6-year break, Nigeria resumed U.S. soybean import. This is where exactly we are going to. In 2024, receiving 62,100 metric tons of soybeans. Officials said this renewed trade and knowledge exchange will support food security, economic stability, and shared prosperity for both nations. Shared prosperity on importation of soybeans. Okay, let me breathe. Your Excellencies, the Oracle, distinguished gentlemen, why should Nigeria be importing soybean?
The first question I'd like to ask is, what instrument was used to get this particular data?
That is part one.
Second,
is it the protein world standard protein deficiency?
No, it says here that an average consumption of 45 grams instead of. How were they able to arrive at this? That Nigeria.
Whose data? That should be whose data?
Yes, that's what I'm saying. Whose data? On whose data were they able to arrive at this? That's one. Two, why are we importing soybeans? Don't we have it in the country?
That's the question.
We don't have.
We don't?
Okay.
You are wearing suits.
Can I?
Mr. Jones is wearing suits.
Dear Oracle.
Where were the soya beans come from?
Dear Oracle, growing up. I grew up.
When you have not started to wear suits.
No, I've always worn suits. We've always worn suits. Now
to the farm.
Yeah, we had farms. We had very big farms. And then when we come back from the farm, we wear suits and go to where we're going to. So now growing up, till today, soybean is cultivated in the Middle Belt. From Kogi, Niger, all the way down to, because you don't need more water, unlike normal regular beans. It survives less water. So why are we importing soybeans? These are things I don't understand. If you go to Niger State, it's common. If you buy beans 100 naira, you buy soybeans, they will give you extra jar. So these are things that we should really ask ourselves.
When you were growing up.
Thank you very much. Yeah. Now,
so let viewers not think that it's still so now.
Yes. We have a president that we've seen do some things that are uncommon. So this is where we'll be calling him to question. Unfortunately, it's not his name that happened to be in that particular report. It happened to be our former president. And we are seeing importation. Now, why are we seeing President Obasanjo's name and importation, and it has to do with the U.S., and we are renewing? Oh, no.
Take Nigeria, because it's the mind that needs to first of all be rebranded.
Idris said he's going to be putting a Nigerian label, Nigeria content and materials first.
If you say Nigeria first and it is just us down here that, are pushing that agenda, it's going to be a big struggle.
Do you think Nigerian firms, Nigerian organizations should start looking at getting their staff involved in this market or buying to keep for their staff?
Within this side, let's also learn citizen diplomacy. See something. This is Souq business landscape.
Welcome to the Africa Development Studies Center, ADSC. ADSC is an organization focused on training and research to advance sustainable development and growth in